The dehydrated leopard embarked on a search for water and found itself trapped inside a vessel filled with the life-giving liquid. Despite the situation, the nearby residents resolved to assist the distressed feline. However, the events that followed are sure to astound you. Occurrences of natural disasters often impact animals just as profoundly as they do humans. Similar to us, animals rely on the natural elements of water, flourishing land, and thriving wildlife to lead fulfilling lives. Droughts can be extremely severe due to various factors such as reduced rainfall. When a region is hit by a drought, there is a significant scarcity of water in both the wild and domesticated areas. India was hit by an unparalleled drought in 2015, causing water scarcity to prevail throughout many regions. This drought was deemed one of the most severe in over 30 years, as people and animals alike struggled to cope with the limited water supply. As rivers and lakes dried up, village residents were forced to gather the last remaining drops of water in their wells and storage tanks. Unfortunately, animals had few options to rely on during this time of drought. As a result, many residents observed an influx of unusual wildlife, such as hyenas, wild birds, foxes, and jackals, seeking survival in residential areas. The parched leopard exhibited its desperation by venturing into a village amidst its inhabitants, carrying out their daily routines. Sartalkara, a village situated in the Rajasthan Rajsamand district, was also grappling with the repercussions of the drought. The locals made concerted efforts to conserve as much water as they could. They gathered water in pots, buckets, and anything else they could find, unsure of how long this drought would last. The leopard was exhausted as it wandered into the village after it quietly padded through the village streets. It stumbled on a house with several water pots by the door. All the pots were sadly empty except for a small water pot with very little water in it. Unfortunately for the leopard, there was so little water in the pot that it was forced to dip its entire head into the water pot just to get a few laps to get rid of its thirst. Although the leopard did get a cool drink, it probably wouldn't have put its head into the pot if it knew what would happen next. Sure enough, when it was time to take its head out of the pot and slink back into the forest, the leopard found that it could not shake off the pot. Its head had gotten stuck in the pot, and it quickly started panicking. You see, a leopard, strength-wise in its senses, agility, and speed. Being cut off from perceiving its environment made the feline very vulnerable. As a result, it began to grunt and growl, shaking its head from side to side. Soon enough, the sounds attracted the attention of the villagers, and they noticed that not only was there a wild cat in their village, but it was also struggling to get its head out of the vessel. The animal was undoubtedly confused and afraid as it wandered the village, frantically trying to shake off the pot on its head. With no idea of what was going on outside, the leopard became very skittish at the sound of anything or anyone moving around it. When they moved closer, it would shriek in fear and bolt in the opposite direction. Shocked and slightly amused by the scene, some residents started taking pictures and videos. India has always had a wonderful reputation for how rich and diverse the nation's wildlife is. The country's home to the highest number of wildlife species in forest landscapes. Its history is dotted with several telling of how respected wildcats are in India, especially tiger. At some point, tigers roamed India freely and became the country's national symbol. The country's coat of arms even features 3 lions to signify courage, strength, and confidence. So it was no surprise that many residents sought to help this unfortunate leopard rather than cast it out into the wild, without helping or, even worse, harming it. They quickly reached out to wildlife officials, telling them of the situation they had on their hands. When the wildlife officials came around to inspect the scene, they came in an official rescue truck fitted with all kinds of tool and equipment, as well as an enclosure in the back to transport the wild animal away from the village. Of course, these guys were professionals, and they knew the leopard was scared and anxious about having so many people around it. They needed to approach with caution. It was a wild animal after all, having sharp claws and fast reflexes. It could still hurt them despite having its head stuck in a pot. They carefully gathered around the leopard, using any instruments they could get their hands on to free the leopard's head. For hours, the wildlife officials tried many things, from metal tools, sticks and rods, to ropes and carving instruments. As though the leopard knew they were trying to help it, it stayed relatively still as they gathered around it. Sometimes the occasional banging or pulling would cause it to thrash around in fear or shriek. After over 4 hours of trying to help the feline out of its tricky situation, the wildlife experts realized that there was one method they hadn't tried. Sure, it was a little more daring and the method could lead to one of them getting hurt, but these professionals knew that they had to free this animal quickly. If it had been so desperate to come into a village for water, there were high chances that it was hungry too. They quickly made arrangements to tranquilize the leopard. This way it wouldn't be able to react to what they were going to do next. Once they tranquilized the struggling leopard, it slowly lost consciousness. Now they had limited time, so they said to work quickly. They were able to use a hands-on approach, and after a couple more minutes, they decided it was best to use something strong. You would be shocked to find out what they eventually resorted to. After so many attempts, it was clear that there was no way pulling out the big cat's head was going to work. They were going to have to cut it out. The wildlife rescuers called out for anyone who could bring a saw. Everyone present was shocked when they heard that they had so many questions and doubts about using a saw to cut through the pot. What if they hurt the leopard? What if the vibrations caused the big cat to wake up from its slumber and get hurt by the saw? What if it did wake up and decided to lash out at the people trying to help it? What would they do if the idea didn't work? Still determined to give it a shot, the leopard's helpers gratefully received a saw from a villager and got to cutting. For over an hour they were right there sawing through the pot. It was much harder than anticipated because it was made of iron. Thankfully, the vibrations didn't wake the leopard up after what seemed like a lifetime. The sawing slowly started to reveal a glimpse of the inside of the pot. They began sawing faster, hoping to rescue the leopard in time and quick enough to avoid it waking up mid-process. After 6 hours of trying to help the feline out of its unfortunate situation, the officials were finally able to saw the pot open. Afterwards, they gently removed the leopard's head and put it in their vehicle. The forest officer for the district subsequently shared further details about the incident with the local media. He disclosed that the leopard was a male, approximately 3 years of age, still relatively young compared to the species' average lifespan of around 12 or 13 years. The forest officer added that the male leopard would remain in their custody for further monitoring. The animal underwent a thorough examination by veterinarians to ensure it was in good health. Once the feline received a clean bill of health, it would be set free to return to the forest and spend the remainder of its life there. The experts were uncertain of its origin as the nearest sanctuary was almost 13 miles away, or about 20 kilometers from the village where it was discovered. It has been reported that the magnificent feline eventually returned to its natural habitat, where it lived out the remainder of its life without any encumbrance. This touching account highlights the importance of showing compassion and kindness to all animals, even those that are wild. It is crucial to remember that even the most formidable creatures may require our assistance at times. However, it is imperative to prioritize safety and seek assistance from professionals when necessary. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up, share and subscribe to our channel. Also press the bell icon to never miss the update from our channel. Thank you.